Hi guys, welcome to the Partyology Experience. I'm here today with 𝚂𝙾𝙲𝙸𝙰. We're talking about her wedding, and in today's podcast we're going to be talking about choosing a date and picking a venue for your wedding for both the reception and then also picking a ceremony spot. Now, whether that be a church or whether that be in a park or something like that.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about those. One of the first things that people talk about or decide, I guess, when they're working out their wedding is, what date shall we get married? How did you come up with yours? And when are you getting married?
So we're getting married on the 27th of March 2021. We decided on that date because our anniversary is actually the 1st of April. So we wanted to get as close as possible to that date. Unfortunately, the weekend after is my brother's birthday, so we decided we didn't want to do it on his birthday. So we have decided then. The weather, of course, is still a bit all over the place. It's Melbourne, of course. You can't pick a date and not have to question the weather.
It could either be bushfires or hailstorms. Who knows? Yeah.
Or, torrential rain.
Yeah.
So we have picked that date because sometimes in March it can be still warm. We're taking the gamble that it is the end of March, so it could be a little bit colder.
Yeah.
But we will have backup plans for those situations.
Yeah.
But that's the reason why we picked that date. It's still in that nice sort of time of the year, and it's the closest to our anniversary.
You said there, weather's obviously an issue. Why is that? Is it because you're having an outdoor ceremony or?
Yes, so we're having our ceremony out on a grassed area. We're actually having our reception and our ceremony at the same location. We thought for convenience it was going to be the easiest sort of way of doing it.
Yeah.
So we have backup plans in the fact that we will have a marquee over that lawned area if it's going to be a little bit windy.
Good idea. Yep.
We're actually getting married down near the beach, so of course we all know here it's windy near the beach.
Yeah.
So we might have to put the marquee up with some walls just to cover for wind if it's still not sunny and it's not raining.
Yeah.
There'll be multiple reasons why. Or we'll be having it inside the venue, which is like last resort, and it will make Marcus's day very stressful.
Yeah, it's because I'm going to be doing all the work for it. Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yes.
So I guess you've hit on a couple of key things there. One, obviously, you've already thought about the weather and working in events. You know that you need a backup plan.
Most important thing ever.
Yes, those brides and people having events and parties and weddings, especially, that just go, oh, it'll be right.
Do not do that, please.
It's the biggest mistake you can make.
And I just think for brides and grooms, like the week before, you do not want to be running around going, it's going to rain, and now I'm stressed, and what am I going to do because it's going to be outside, and you're trying to ring suppliers, and no one's available because they're all booked out.
Yeah.
It's just not what you need a week,
That's
2
right.
weeks prior. So please have a backup plan.
Yeah, we've seen so many brides, be let down and distressed in that last week.
It makes me so sad for them.
Yeah, and we're trying to help them, and there's no marquees left, or there's
we've had them cry at us on a Friday saying, do you have anything? And we're like, we're fully booked, and you just feel horrible for them. But you can avoid this, people.
That's right.
Please.
That's right, you can.
Plans.
So have a backup plan and look into the backup plan. Hopefully it doesn't happen and things go well.
Of course.
But
don't be realistic in the fact that you live in Melbourne. You don't live in like sunny Queensland where most of the time 90% it's going to be sunny.
Yeah.
We live in Melbourne. Be prepared for it.
Yeah. I think you said there, so you're having the ceremony and the reception in the same place.
Yes.
Which, from personal experience, going to weddings over lots of years, and just knowing that is a winner. Like it just, sometimes people have their ceremony and they'll have it for whatever reason at 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the reception is 5, 6 o'clock in a totally different space. Yes. It makes it really awkward for your guests. They've got to find something to do. If it's a destination wedding and they've got nowhere to go or they don't know where they are, it can make it really hard. So having that ceremony and the reception one in the same place and in a tighter time frame is just good for your guest experience.
100%. I think from being in this industry, I think before I ever was in this industry, I would have never thought of that. And I think going to weddings over the past couple of years, you do learn that, for us to be convenient and fun and, relaxing for everyone, don't make them drive a half an hour from one spot to the other.
Yeah, that's right.
Make them, chill out, have the ceremony, have a drink, and then just go straight down to the room.
That's right.
I think sometimes it's hard when people want to do the full 2 hours of photos. That's the hard one.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got to be considerate of other people. Like the guests are going to be there. Be considerate of them and how far they have to go and how long they have to wait.
Yeah, and that's right. Look, understandably, most people will have photos between the ceremony and the reception.
Yes.
But one, if you can limit that time, and
as
two,
much as you can.
and that's okay. It could potentially be a couple of hours. Give your guests something to do.
Yes.
Make sure they got food and drink, especially if it's a hot day.
100%.
Maybe even
shade.
some shade, some sort of entertainment.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be a painful experience for them from the very
You
beginning.
need to think of your guests. Like, it is all about you, but at the end of the day, it is all about your guests as well. Like, you've got 100 of your loved ones there. You don't want them to be roasting on the lawn.
That's
like
right.
You got your
Exactly right.
90-year-old nan in the sun all day.
Yeah. Poor things cook like a chicken. You get there, where's Nan? She's cooked.
Yeah, we don't want that. We don't want people passing out, so please consider that.
That's right. Half your guests are unconscious on the lawn from heat exhaustion.
No, we don't want that.
Be funny though. No, it wouldn't.
That would be funny.
Okay, so I guess we then need to talk about one of the key things in any wedding is the venue. The venue.
Yes.
Finding the right venue, finding the right location, the right look, the right
It's
style.
a whole
Are they going to
ball
do?
game.
Are they going to do food right? What sort of drinks are we going to serve? All those sorts of things. Like, it can be quite stressful when looking for venue.
The venue's the hardest part.
Yeah. So how many venues have you looked at?
A fair few.
Or investigated, I should say.
Yeah, this is the question, because I've been to a lot of venues here in Melbourne being in this industry, so I kind of already had a short list already. Again, I know I touched on last time, but just about the access times, how flexible they were, costs came down to it, of course, how many people they could hold in that venue. Because I'm having a cocktail, I didn't want a venue that was, can hold 500 people.
Yeah.
It was going to be a job that we were going to have to drape half the venue off anyway. Is that worth paying the money for it when you're going to get rid of most of it anyway?
Yeah.
So space was another thing. So there's lots of things to consider when it comes to venues. I wanted the flexibility was my main priority. I think being in this industry and wanting to look a certain way, I know how long things take. So I know I need all day to access the venue and set it up.
So were you looking then for more of a blank canvas, I guess? Or?
Yeah, so blank canvas was more sort of up my alley. I wanted something I could add things to and not have its own every venue has its own personality to a degree. But I really wanted to add my own sort of touch on it. If I wanted to do a particular theme, I was going to do it and be able to do it well without having to clash with something that was already in there.
Yeah. So you've picked a venue then?
I have picked a venue.
Yep. And you're happy with it, obviously?
I am very happy.
Yep. And how much did, say, price and food and that sort of thing play into it?
So, it's going to sound horrible, but food's not a huge thing for me. Food for me is, of course I want it to be nice. We went there and actually had a sort of an afternoon lunch and tested the food to make sure, of course, it was nice food. But I'm not a massive foodie where the fact that it needs to be a 5-star, chef hat restaurant or whatever it needs to be. But I also want to make sure everyone gets fed enough as well. Like, that was a huge thing for me. I don't want people going to McDonald's on the way home because they're, starving. I wanted to make sure that was going to be covered, especially being cocktail as well. You're not having a full sit-down dinner, so you want to make sure people are fed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the main choice for venue was location?
Location, it's a whole range of things. Flexibility, location. It's down near my way. I live down the Mornington Peninsula, and it's down that close to my family and friends. There's only some that will have to drive.
Yeah.
So it was very convenient for everyone.
And so we need to do much to that venue to, I guess, suit your style?
Yes.
Or
Not
is it
crazy amount.
total renovation of it?
No,
or?
it's on the beach, so it's very our style. I'll probably go more into the sort of style of what we're going to actually plan to do, but this venue sort of taps into that a little bit anyway. There will be a degree that we have to go to. It won't be a whole re-renovation or anything like that.
So
I've done enough renovations.
So who'll be doing all the decor at your wedding?
I wonder.
Are you going to hire Feel-Good Events?
Yes, I may.
Yeah.
Yes, if you write back to my email really quickly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know a few good event decorators I might be able to recommend.
Yes,
so.
no, Marcus will be planning and doing everything for me on the day. He will be my wedding planner, as he likes to call himself. So yes, he'll be doing all the hard work, so I don't have to stress on the day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, I'm sure you are.
It's going to be a nice superheroes theme. I hope that's what you want.
I'll get there to be a Hollywood theme. I'll be like, Marcus, wrong theme.
Oh, whoops. I thought it was your birthday, not your wedding. What sort of format? You've chosen a cocktail format for your wedding?
Yes, so cocktail, that was the best way for us to get our very relaxed, chilled sort of vibe. With doing a sit down, it's very formal. We didn't want formal. I want people to be walking around, getting a drink, having a chat, talking to everyone. I don't want to sit in a seat and sit there. Like, a bridal table would have made me feel sick. I don't want to be up there, everyone staring at me. I would have hated it.
Yeah.
So having everyone just walking around and relaxing is so our vibe.
Yeah,
so,
fair enough.
Yeah. Cocktails.
And I think from experience we're finding at Feel Good Events that a lot more brides
it's more common
are
now.
more cocktail style because it's more relaxed. And you can still, if you're a foodie, you can still have really good food and make sure there's plenty of food. It's just in a less formal,
a different formal way.
Yeah.
And I think it's not as formal anymore. I think years and years ago, everyone just did the same thing, formal. But we're pushing the boundaries a bit more on weddings, and you can be more relaxed, and you don't need to do every single thing that's on that list. You can do what you want. It's about you guys, not about what they've done for years.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
exactly
changed.
right. How much did cost affect your venue choice? Did that really play a big part? Like, was there any other venues that you looked at that you thought, oh, I'd really love this one, but I just can't afford it?
It wasn't about to a degree it was, but I think it was also covering all the bases that I wanted to cover. So there could have been one that was $20,000 and I probably would have spent it because I loved it, but they didn't give you the time or the flexibility to do what you wanted.
Yeah.
And that really came into play. I think I was willing to pay the money if it had all the criteria that I had on my list. And because it didn't, I was like, I'm not going to, why would I pay all that money for something that I'm not going to get half of the things I need on that sort of list?
Yeah.
So that came down to a huge thing. And I think even though it didn't cost me crazy amounts of money for the reception and the ceremony, it still covered all my bases.
Yeah.
So it worked, and it wasn't just about the cost. It was about flexibility. Flexibility is a huge one, really.
And I think that is a key, and this is one thing that again people will only find out when they do their research. Depending on what sort of decor and styling you want to do for the venue, and every venue usually you'll do something, whether it be flowers in a simple way or you fully drape the whole venue and do lighting and special dance floors and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
All these things, as we've discussed before, take time, and a lot of venues, that's fine, but if you say to them, I need a day to do the installation of all these things, then they will charge you per hour for that. So that's extra cost on what they're charging you per head and for the room hire.
Which I understand why they charge it. They have to, they're business at the end of the day as well, but it's being realistic as well. Like, I think some venues, if they allow you in from 12 o'clock, I think that's okay, but some of them were, your ceremony would start at 3 or 4 and you'd be in from 2 or 1. And I'm like, the poor suppliers, you'd be like, you have 2 hours, go. And
what will happen is in some cases, once you find this out, if the supplier says to you, well, to do that, it's going to take us 10 hours.
A long time.
And then you say to the supplier, well, I've only got from 12 o'clock, so I've only got 5 hours. The supplier's going to charge you extra as well.
Charge you more if they have the resource to have more people, or you have to cull back the look you want to go for.
Exactly right. So there's going to be lots of compromise there potentially, or it's just going to cost you extra money. So I guess one of the key things here would be before you book your your function venue, have a good idea of what your suppliers are going to cost you to do that and how much time that's going to take. Because that's going to determine which venue you choose as well, if you want to go down that path of doing lots of decorating and you want it to look like Kim Kardashian's wedding and, they need a month.
She's been married twice.
Well, they need a month to decorate the venue. So, these are things, again, that you won't know until you start asking the questions of your event decorators or your event stylists. Ask the venue, what sort of flexibility do we have as far as letting supplies in? Even letting the DJ in, or the band. They may need an hour or 2 hours at least.
Mostly them do.
To do that.
Of course.
So, that takes time, and so the venue potentially could charge you for every extra hour.
Yes.
And if you've got multiple, you're always going to have multiple suppliers going into your venue, florists, entertainment, decorators. It's, somebody's doing a dance floor, whatever it might be, these things are all going to cost you potentially lots of money in the long run. So as you say, finding a venue that gives you that flexibility is, to do what you need to do.
And I think, like coming from a supplier point of view, you need to consider them as well. Like, I think when you put people under so much pressure to get it done in a small amount of time, this is where mistakes happen. Yeah. And I think, be considerate of the fact that we can only do so much in a time frame. Yeah. And, it doesn't leave much time for error as well. Like, we're all human. And I think that's the main thing. And I think a lot of people go and pick a venue, go, great, it was this cost and it was great, but then they whack the cost onto the suppliers anyway. So the suppliers are going to charge you double the amount just to do that amount of time. Yeah. So you're not really winning either way. Yeah. You might be winning costs with the venue, but then you're paying another $500 with the suppliers because of this.
Exactly right.
So, you need to weigh those up as well.
Yeah. And so, looking at the legal side of things with your venue and talking about all these sorts of things, I know you sort of mentioned to me in the past about contracts and all that sort of stuff. How important do you think that is?
Contracts are good to have in writing. My dad is actually a contract writer, so I have this in my head all the time. So, the thing is that sometimes venues can go back on their word, or they'll say, oh, no, I didn't say that, or whatever it is. And from past experience, it's just nice for everyone across the board to have it all in writing. If there's anything that comes up the week, 2 weeks, a month out, you know that you're covered. So they go, let's say, for example, oh, you've got access from 9, and then 2 weeks later going, oh, you've actually access from 12. It's like, well, no, you can't do that. You can't say one thing and then change it because it's not convenient.
Yeah.
So
which does happen all the time. We experience that,
it does happen quite a lot, and, you know, I think that's having it in a contract, and if they're willing to do that. Some venues can't, of course. I know some people can't give you that time. But that was important for me to have in the contract because, you know, I was told that it was what my options were, and I wanted to make sure that I had. And of course, even having a marquee on the grass, I wanted to make sure that I could definitely have a marquee on the grass because it would change the whole process if I wasn't able to.
And I think that's sort of not a common thing with venues, but they want to get the sale, so they'll sort of agree to everything to begin with.
Yeah.
And then they get all these extra bookings at closer to the date, and then they, like you say, they told me I could get in from 9 o'clock for my florist to do all the florals, and now they can't get in till 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
That causes a lot of extra stress on the, you know, closer to the date, and also causes a lot of extra cost potentially as well. So
it's a communication thing. I think if you have very clear communication, you have most things in writing, you know, venues don't want to rip you off, but it's also just being, you know, be smart and just have all those things that you really need to make sure are going to be on the contract. You know, you've signed it, and they're the things that you want to make sure are there. Yeah,
the key things you want.
It's just another step to making it less stressful.
That's right. So
that's all it is.
Is there anything that, you know, that stood out to you from looking at venues? Is it, you know, just like, oh, I really didn't know that, or it was you already had a pretty good understanding?
I had a pretty good understanding, to be honest. Because we're decorators here at Feel Good Events, we deal with hundreds and hundreds of venues every year. So I know sort of what they entail, what they need, all the information. You know, I was telling her that I'll be giving her the running sheet and the floor plan because I'm used to doing it myself. Yeah. So nothing really stood out too much in regards to the venue. It was sort of pretty straightforward for me, but I can understand how it can be quite scary with brides and grooms that go in there having no idea what questions to ask. So you know, hopefully all these sort of things that we're talking about will give people insight of what things to ask before you actually go in. Yeah,
I guess another thing is flexibility. You know, we were talking of guest lists before, and you know, if your guest list starts at 150 and for whatever reason
it goes up or down,
up or down, can the venue be, you know, able to help you with those sorts of things? Is that going to cause major issues
cost-wise,
if you take out 10 or you add 10? Or, I mean, most venues are usually happy if you add. It's when you start taking away.
Room.
Yeah, if you start taking away 20 guests because they're all from overseas and coronavirus kicks in and they can't come.
Ball game.
That's right.
Yes.
We suggest not having a wedding during coronavirus.
No,
it's probably not a good idea.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah. So yeah, these sorts of things, you need to ask those questions as well. If I change this for this reason, you know, usually around guests, or we've got guests, so many eating requirements.
Oh yeah, allergies.
Yeah, that's an important thing to look at.
Actually, that's one thing that, now that you've said that, with ours, if we have people that have allergies, it's an additional $15 per person to cater for those people.
Yeah.
And I think these days there are so many people that have allergies to, you know, peanuts and gluten-free and, you know, lactose intolerant and all those things. So that's an additional cost that I didn't think of.
That's right.
And I'm now going to have to pay that because there is people that are going to have those things.
So it should be cheaper not to invite those people, really, wouldn't it?
No, don't do that, please.
If you have any food requirements, sorry, you can't come. You get a Happy Meal at the door.
I'm dairy intolerant, so I can't even go to my own wedding.
Yeah, that's right. You're out. That's okay. Okay, well, thanks, Emma, for talking to us today about picking a date. Obviously very important, and picking your venue and ceremony spot. They're all very key, and the things that you would organise early enough. Stay tuned and we'll have more wedding tips in the coming episodes. Thanks for listening.